The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. Find your drive.
Welcome back to the LCS Challengers League. I am Mazel. I'm joined by Magical and Moshi yet again. As we got the 3 M's. I was kind of hoping to make an M out of your mustache.
Can we get a change to Moshi?
No. I was hoping at some point we would, but maybe not. Maybe that's a disservice to Joshi.
That's what we need.
No. It's got to be Moshi, and then we got to change his Twitter to Moshi_TV. We're
the 3 M's. We're always the same, the likely candidates here. But anyways,
my favorite part about the Three Musketeers is, Lennon, is that there's 4 of them.
Yes, there are 4.
Wait, are they really?
There are 4 Musketeers.
There are. Don't go look it up, because then you'll know. Anyways, we got to get to our second series of the day, as we have some likely candidates, not only on the desk, but here on the Rift. We've got Disguised in a very interesting way against Team Fish Taco. This Taco roster, yes, it's got the food fight, all the good stuff. You know, you can throw tacos, you can throw bread, I guess. But you got to throw some things if you're looking at this Team Fish Taco roster, because I think we've had individual performances across the board, not necessarily to the avail that you'd want to have. But I think, Joshi, it's an interesting perspective when you look at this roster coming together. Yeah,
this is definitely a roster where we were expecting them to be having a little bit more success than what we've been seeing based on what we saw in the first round robin. And I think a big part of that is that a lot of their players are able to find leads, but it's been really tough for them to convert that over the course of their games.
Josh, are we on the same reality right now? Because I feel like at the beginning of the split, everyone was just criticizing Team Fish Taco. Everyone's like, this team's not going to do anything. They'll get lucky if they get like 3 wins. And here they are, 17 and 13, which, yeah, sure isn't the greatest, but they've picked up some big wins. They've taken down teams like Team Liquid Challengers and had an even split against them. This is a team that I think has surprised a lot of expectations. Wow. And when you look at how they play a lot of this, I feel like a lot of it comes from some of their younger players like Onat and Lunacia and how good they have been in their lane phase.
I'm just surprised. You were the one who was just talking about, I was like, well, we can't be talking about Evil Geniuses as though they're good anymore. It's like, well, they just went 1-1 against Evil Geniuses.
Hold on.
Shots fired.
Shots fired, but I'm also saying Evil Geniuses, people put high in the expectations. They put them in the top bracket. Team Fish Taco, everyone's like 10th place team. There's got to be 10th place team. And sure, they're in last place right now, but they still are doing way better than I think anyone could have expected. Like, Onat picking up solo kills as well on Victor was great to see how he's been working with Rosethorn. I think is one of the main reasons why they've been able to win a lot of their games. And Lunacia still living up to the solo kill king in summer, really working towards being the #1, only I think behind Fake God right now, who's arguably the best top laner that we have in the league.
For me, I think it has been about that growth within those individual lanes, right? We have seen a bit of a step up from Onat and Lunacia, but I think a tried and true factor of all of this has been some consistency from Spawn and Rosethorn and how this all meshes together, right? And Rosethorn is kind of that leading factor at this point, and somebody I look to get Taco those advantages earlier on, Joshi.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this roster, right? Rosethorn has definitely been their most consistently strong member, but we still need to see them continue to showcase even more growth. And unfortunately, this is going to be a tough roster for them to be going up against, because Disguised, almost everybody had these players in their top 3 going into summer.
Did you see, though, yesterday? All I'm saying, results-based analysis, Joshi.
Okay, but FlyQuest was also a team that we thought was going to be in the top 3.
Hey, but also Disguised, they have 3 players of the winning Cloud9 Challengers from spring, right? And yet they're 11 and 9 currently. They're in the towards the middle of the pack at the moment, and this is a team that we expected to be contesting for the #1 spot against FlyQuest, against Team Liquid Challengers, and they have been struggling in some regards. But at the same time, they're still very strong, right? They've been splitting most of their series 1-1.
And especially when you look at like solo pieces, those trios coming together. But Joshi, I know you have a man that you specifically want to talk about, and it's got to be Fake God, because he is in our most valuable front runners conversation.
Now, I built this game last night. It is a very in-depth game. The question is, we got a bunch of stats from Fake God earlier on. This is all as of last night. So any games that took place today don't count. I also removed Surdy because he had only played 2 games.
Okay.
But everybody else counts, all right? And it's the question, is Fake God the first or second best in his role for these stats, all right? We're going to start the first one.
Oh, for
KDA.
each individual stat.
Each stat.
Oh.
Is he
First.
number 1 or number 2?
Second.
Second? It is, in fact, second. He has the second best KDA of all top laners in the league. Okay? Next one, gold per minute. I gave you guys a little bit of a hint. He's got 409 gold per minute. First? Are you sticking with that? No,
Sure.
he's second here again.
Oh, wow.
But
you led
still,
me astray.
Still very, very good so far. All right, next one. Vision score per minute, 24. I don't know if that one's right. I might have gotten the wrong number. That is absurdly high
lot.
for
I was
vision
about
score.
to say,
A lot.
that's a huge
Maybe average
vision
per
score.
game.
Yeah, maybe, because that's a high
Definitely not
vision
per
score
game.
for a
Even
top
then,
laner.
that's like, yeah, that's even
All right,
rough.
all right. First or second?
First. It's got to
Second.
be first if it's that high.
Let's go. Lenny picking up another one. All right, next
Let's
one.
go!
Gold difference at 15.
One of these has got to be
Ooh.
first.
First.
All right, it is first. He is the best in his
Look at
role.
that.
He has
Yo,
been the
so
most
smart.
dominant in terms of gold so far. And as we continue, CS difference at 15.
I'm going second on this one.
Oh, I'm going first.
All right, it is second. It is second.
Oh.
But,
That one I figured was second.
yeah, experience difference at 15.
First.
First?
That one's got to be
Lennon?
first.
Second.
Ooh, this one's first. He's
Oh,
actually
let's go the other way. Oh.
I love
Now-
the like different ones and twos you have, Josh.
I know, thank you. I've worked very hard on it. I also got a bunch of things from between 2 buttons, but we got 3 more. First blood percentage.
Oh, this is second.
Second. Yeah, it's got to be second.
He gets first blood 45% of the time. That's
He's
first,
second.
baby. That's first.
Oh, dang.
That is an absurd number.
It
That is
high.
crazy
It is
high.
I just thought there was someone who had 50.
Yeah.
But I might be thinking jungle.
All right, next one. Oh, it's in his role.
Oh, okay. Oh,
All
that's
right,
got to
first blood victim.
That's going to be last place because it's 0.
First.
Well,
just
I
kidding.
put first, right? Because it's
I
the
know
best,
first, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
He hasn't been
First.
first blood a single time this entire season, and there's only one more stat. First or second?
Well, I thought it was
Got
going to be
9.
about him eating burgers.
I think it's
second.
I think it's first.
No, you guys are both wrong. I tricked you guys a little bit. He's actually 7th. And I think
my God.
this last one is really interesting to me.
That's actually really interesting.
Not because it means that Fake Guy's been playing poorly, but it just goes to show, like, his strength. He's got these insane laning stats, and it's not
Yeah.
even the best part of his game.
Yeah,
That's
I
actually
think that's the
crazy.
craziest part for me. It's like he's just purely winning by forcing people out of lane, not just killing them.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see what happens. Can DSG bounce back after a tough day yesterday, or can Taco make sure they don't? We're going game 1 of our second series. Let's see what happens.
And it's a food fight.
It's a food fight.
Got to get that out of the way for Kangas because you know he's going to listen back and be like, did you mention the food fight? And there you go. We've done it.
Yeah. I already ate all my King's Hawaiian rolls. I was going to throw something at the camera, but can't do it.
Wait,
this
you
time
stole
around.
Hawaiian rolls from King? Maybe that's why EGC lost last series.
He's completely out of rolls. How is he supposed to continue finding these wins? But going into this one, it is definitely worth noting that DSG is a heavy favorite going into this one, right? Even though they lost to FlyQuest Challengers, even though that hasn't been the most dominant performance so far coming out from DSG, the only way that we have been seeing that Team Fish Taco is consistently winning games is when Rose Thorn goes absolutely crazy bonkers in the first couple of minutes and just completely takes over the game. And Tomio
Are
is a
you going to
player.
ignore Onat? I feel like it's Rose Thorn and Onat. Them
Okay, well,
tag
Rose Thorn
teaming and how
and
they
Onat go
'cause-
crazy bonkers in the first couple of minutes, and they've mostly done that on Rose Thorn's Kindred.
Right, and you got to take that away because Rose Thorn has been way too strong on that champion. So getting that off the table, completely understandable. But also looking at what Team Fish Taco have taken away. That Renekton, that Fake God has also been getting a lot of the stats that you were talking about with. It's the power that he has from the lanes out of that champion alone that has really gotten DSG pretty far ahead on the top side of the map, while DSG themselves are taking away some power from Lunacia. Lunacia, there's a reason why we call him the solo kill king of spring. Had the most outside of MNS, but out of players that played the whole split, even on FlyFam, a team that got relegated at the very end of it, still had the most solo kills. It was very impressive to see, but no ban coming in there from Taco at the end. They leave open Nico, and Nico, I know Cubby has problems with the flash ult that you can do on Nico. That is going to be something that is very difficult to contend against as Taco.
Yeah. But it is worth noting the last time we saw Young play this NACL, it was not good.
That is fair.
It was a problem coming in for DSG, and this is something that we will be looking at quite a bit, because I actually did, when I was doing all the trial interviews with the members of Wildcard, I actually talked to Saligo, and Saligo was saying that considering they have Fake God, Tomio, and Zazel from the championship roster from 2023 spring, Young and Meech, he doesn't think are actually particularly good fits for the rest of the way that DSG plays. And part of that is the fact that Young has been one of these players that has been so good at playing a lot of melees, trying to be really aggressive in the lanes. And it's a team composition where Zazel has been kind of struggling to synergize with Young, trying to make sure that he's safe going for all these relatively aggressive plays.
Well, and Young, back when he was on Golden Guardians Academy, was very well known for champions like this Aurelia that actually got picked up here.
There you go.
Also, the Akali. Well, I expect that's going to be Aurelia for Fake God since they have the Nico. It is something that kind of just, it's fun to talk about what we normally expect coming in from Young and how he likes to play a lot of these melee mid laners. And I would expect Tomio to just lock in something like Sejuani here. Maybe the Poppy also works. I think the Poppy is also something very strong with a lot of the dashes that Team Fish Taco have. But I kind of like having something that can really back up that Aurelia such as Sejuani.
Yeah, I do have a fun fact for you, Alex, about Fake God and Irelia. He has one game on the champion in his lifetime. I'm really expecting that it's probably more likely this NACL is going to be going towards the support role and or maybe in the jungle.
Fair.
And this Poppy is actually a crazy bonkers counterpick to the Cassante up in the top lane. Every single time Cassante goes for his Q, Poppy hits their Q, and Poppy does a lot more damage. It's a really tough position up in the top side of the map. And so I really think it's cool that Young now has one of these champions that we were just saying he loves playing these aggressive melee champions. And now he's actually got a team composition that can follow him up.
Yeah, and I think Aurelia, if it ends up being for Young, and we do see a lot of the crazy shenanigans that Disguise have here with Aurelia possibly for Young, Poppy possibly for Fake God, and then Tomio on Nico. We have seen Nico jungle. I forget which region played it. I'm trying to think what team. I think it was the LCK. Actually had
multiple people have played it.
Yeah, and multiple regions have, but I think like of prominent regions, I think it's been like one game in LPL and one game in LCK. So I would be curious to see if it is going to be Tomio on that, especially going up against Rosethorn on the Sejuani. Something that can actually play up in the face of Nico when she is going to be a little bit more vulnerable to getting invaded earlier on into the game. As we are in the second part of the bans, and we see mostly support bans on both sides. A lot of the disengagers or engagers for either side taken off the board, while Aphelios has been picked up for spawn.
That's really bold coming out for Team Fish Taco as we do see the Kog'Maw being locked in. This feels like a very prepared draft from Disguised, right? The characters that they've gone for in the order they've gone for definitely feels as though they are reading Team Fish Taco like a book, right? The Irelia Slam, the Poppy Slam coming through, and now the Kog'Maw Slam as well. This is DSG going for a draft where it feels like they prepared every single part of it the entire time. And when you have that kind of draft, when you have that kind of power, you really need to win. And I'm really worried in particular for the mid lane here for ONAP, just because this matchup, I'm an avid Tristana solo laner.
Yes.
This matchup sucks
I like to play my AP Tristana mid lane.
Yeah?
And I'll say even with that, Aurelia is not a fun matchup. I saw the Aurelia, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, it makes sense for Young to go for the Aurelia, but with the Nico, I kind of got baited in. But you called it correct there, Josh. Look at that. Young onto what many consider Young's classic champion, this Aurelia. Been the one that he really got his name for. Him and Bradley, back when Bradley used to be a mid laner, they were very well known for coming up into the scene and being such good mid lane Aurelia players. And so having that into a great matchup like this Tristana, where you are going to early on look to bully Onat as much as possible, that is something that we talked about being a powerful point for Team Fish Taco, was how Rosethorn and Onat work together with one another. Well, now just purely in the solo 1v1, Young is going to be the one with the advantage here for Disguise, bowling around Onat. That can really free up the rest of the map so that Tomio on this Nico jungle can impact every lane and make it nearly impossible for Team Fish Taco to actually enact their strength early into the game.
As we take a look at it, right, I am really excited to see how Tomio actually does pilot this Nico, because it is an unusual champ. It's a very cerebral character coming out for a player that is mostly known for their mechanics, not necessarily their big brain plays coming through all the time. But it's still very strong as long as you have all the damage that you are able to bring at the right points of time. Now, up in the top lane, we were already establishing that Fake God is, well, he's not the solo killingest top laner, he is incredibly lane dominant. He's incredibly tough for anybody to try and go up against because he has such a stranglehold on the way he actually likes to play. It really just kind of makes him the daddy of the league.
It does. It makes him the...
I got you!
You did. You changed his name to Fake Daddy instead. Just
Fake Daddy.
How much he dominates in that top lane. And Lunacia on this K'Sante is going to struggle a lot against Fake God on this Poppy because there's so many tools that Poppy has that denies what K'Sante wants to do. But I'm actually looking towards the spot lane. Meech has gone with the Ghost and then a dagger start into what I would assume is going to be a very uninteractive bot lane in both the Soraka and the Aphelios.
Yeah.
And so it kind of surprises me to see that's the start that Meech wants to go for. Really looking to get that first item spike as soon as possible.
Yeah. It's also really interesting to see that NXI choosing to go with this Soraka coming through because NXI has been by far his best when he's playing characters that have engage tools.
Yeah.
And Soraka is a surprisingly difficult champ to play in competitive, right? You have to be very aware of all the different movement speed changes that you have over the course of a fight. You have to be positioning much more like a marksman than you would any other kind of character so that you can support both the front line and the back line, because you're basically auto-attacking your own front line in order to go for a lot of these plays. And it is going to be an opportunity for Zeyzal and Meech to try and punish him really heavily every time he tries to walk up for an ability.
You can see that right there. NXI looking to poke out at Meech and Zeyzal as much as possible. Every time he does, eats one of those winter spites there from Zeyzal, and is always under threat, always in danger. And it's funny how Soraka is as a champion, because I'm glad you called that out, Josh. With how she needs to play and how the opponent needs to play around her, you treat her like she's the carry. You treat her like that's the most important person to get, because if you don't...
They are.
if you don't, then all of a sudden you're just going to notice that all that damage that you try to do to Rosethorn, to Lunacia, the front line, it's really going to be completely eliminated and negated by everything that NXI can then throw on top of them.
As they continue to move around the map, it is, you know, to their credit, NXI is doing the easy part of the lane rather well so far, making sure that they are pushing things out. They are putting Kog'Maw in a position where they aren't just farming everything for free. But it is
jungling. What are you talking about, Josh?
It's fascinating to just watch this Kog'Maw walking around the jungle on the far side of the
map. He's not bot lane. What do you mean?
You know, he's having a good time. He's just chilling everywhere.
But mid lane, we're seeing the problem that you have as the Tristana into Norelia. Doing your best to clear out the... Yeah, you can, but having Rosethorn show there in mid lane, going with Smart, just went right to the top side of the map where he knew his jungler was at. Gonna reset as well. Probably have a reset from Onat, both of them coming back into lane. DPs as well, and it's still gonna be Aurelia in full control of this mid lane. That brings back the question of Rosethorn and his movements on this map, because as the Sejuani, you always want to play around the lanes that can help proc your permafrost, right?
Yeah.
Play around the K'Sante. Well, that's the only lane you have. There's no other melee on your team.
Yeah, you're the only one who can really do anything. And Lunacia, going up in this matchup, actually did a pretty decent job farming better than Fake God so far in a matchup that is really tough to interact in. You have to be very aggressively trying to use your really short cooldown on your Q, and evidently he has been with them with relatively even HP bars. But now, this mid lane, the big thing about this matchup is it is good for Tristana until it isn't. As soon as you go down once,
nice,
it's ruined.
We're not on point there to make sure that he can get away. Looked like it was in danger for a second, as bot lane also saying that if you don't focus the Soraka, Spawn took a little bit of damage and throws it right back onto both Meech and Zeyzal, where they can't really do much against them because Soraka things.
Yep. And keeping them relatively healthy, and Meech and Zeyzal are being pushed back, right? It is a good job from NXI to prevent Meech and Zeyzal from taking over at all. And now, we are going to be seeing Team Fish Taco. They do have a party down in the bottom lane. They're saying, hey, we want to make sure we can get a couple of extra auto attacks on the plate so that we can try and get a little bit of extra money. You guys go ahead and do the dragon. We can move if you ever need us.
Wow, that caster minion was able to get an auto attack and actually got the plate for them. Literally the caster minion MVP of the game for Team Fish Taco in that bot lane.
They are still just even in gold, right? We are still sitting up in the mid lane. A wave and a half advantage currently building up for Young. And at the same time, the bottom lane, we will see Spawn actually have a lot of pressure later on in this game. This has been a player that I've continued to praise their willingness to go forward, which they haven't been doing in previous seasons. It allows them to take fights that would be otherwise even, turn them into winning ones.
And Josh, when we look at Spawn, Spawn is Spawn is the player that when we looked at Team Fish Taco, we're like, if they're gonna win, it's gonna be through Spawn. And it's kind of been surprising. Spawn has been doing a great job with Team Fish Taco, but he hasn't been the only one really performing. And I think when we look at how this game is at the moment, the fact that Spawn and NXI are getting such a big lead here against Beach and Zeyzal in the bot lane, really kind of controlling them, even if there is going to be the stun and Soraka thinks again. I think it frees up someone like Rosethorn to continually play around ONAT like we have seen so often. And you never really have to worry about Spawn and NXI in the spot lane being too much in danger, just because on their own in the 2v2, they've been winning most matchups.
Yeah. It is worth noting, though, right? We were saying that Team Fish Taco, their laning phase was surprisingly good, considering the score that they do have on the map, right? It's not though as though they're losing a lot of their lanes. It's mostly just that.
I see team
yeah, it's been really messy. What was the team that we were talking about last split? Was it the Fly? Yeah, it was the Fly Fab moments, right? Eventually, there's always a Fly Fab moment. There's a lot of times where it's like, oh, well, what's the Team Fish Taco moment? That's bold.
That's very bold. I guess just crashing that cannon minion, but
yeah,
that was bold of Rosethorn. I get he wants to play around ONAT, but now look at Tomio. The flash with the ult there, the double knock-a-pop Blossom. There's no way to out-heal that one, NXI, as you flash away and watch Spawn die.
Wow, and Tomio just coming right on over. No opportunity for the rest of Team Fish Taco to do anything about that. They're looking top lane.
Looking top lane, all out onto Fake God. Flashed away from the pull back, waiting it out, and then punted away. Fake God completely denying the attempted play from Team Fish Taco top lane.
That is the flash that was expended. Lunacia doing a fantastic job actually fighting the top lane to a standstill against one of the players that we have been talking about might be in the running for the most valuable prospect. But coming on the far side, finding that kill and giving them to himself suddenly gives a lot more threat to the magic damage that Disguise are going to be doing in this game. And now they're already moving in Forcer to top half of the map.
No Pop Blossom, though, for Tomio. Young on the other side. Vanguard's edge is there. Gonna use that onto Rosethorn. Looking for the damage. Hold back in. That was a wish that came out, but it might not have been in time. Or is it? Because they got the resets. Looking for the flash forward. Does pick up the kill for ONAT onto Young. Looking at Zeyzal as well. Tagged by the Permafrost. Pulled back in by the fight. Double kill for ONAT. Rift Herald, Team Fish Taco.
And what a disjointed fight coming up from members of Disguise. They go in one at a time. They're not in agreement on when you're actually supposed to be starting the fight. And DSG not only give over the Rift Herald, they give over a couple of kills as well. And it was a really tough time trying to even go in for the fight in the first place. But ONAT, now with 2 kills on the Tristana, going to be staying ahead of the Irelia for a lot longer than we were expecting.
As we look at this play, like I said, Tomio doesn't have Pop Blossom. One of the big tools you kind of need if you're going to utilize both Young and Tomio in a fight.
Yeah, and honestly, right there, Rosethorn canceling Young's Q, putting it on a situation where he can't use it to go aggressive, doesn't have the extra bit of damage, gives ONAT the tools necessary to jump in on the rest of the fight, get a couple of kills, and make sure that he is free firing this entire time. This is when the Tristana is not supposed to be strong. This is when you're supposed to be looking at a lot of these melee champions, but without their ultimates, without their tools to go for the fights, they're just falling behind super significantly early on in the game.
This is something I've loved about ONAT, watching this young rookie player. Ever since I really got to see him in the promotion tournament when he was on Supernova and got them promoted, right? This guy is very aggressively, and he is one of those feast or famine players, where he will look for all the risky plays early into the game, sometimes to the detriment of his entire team. That's what makes him fun to watch, right? He flashed forward, picked up that kill with the Buster Shot onto Young, and then gets the second kill afterwards. And now, look how he is in this lane. You talked about how, as the Relia into Tristana, you need that first kill, because then it's unplayable as Tristana. What happens when it's the other way around, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, right? When Team Fish Talk are winning games, it's oftentimes because Onet is going nuts. Now, on the Tristana, we got to see Shochi have a fantastic game on this character yesterday, but he was also going a little bit too far, and Onet loves playing on the edge of what is possible, right? When he's right, he looks like a genius. When he's wrong, well, it ends up giving the Fly Fam moments right on back to Team Fish Taco. And so, DSG will really need to tighten their belts, recognize that they're playing with a lot less money than the other side of the map in a couple of these fights. And in particular,
Pop Blossom onto Rose Thorn. A little bit of damage on NXI, but this is the problem. When you have a Soraka behind the front line, you can't really do much to the front line, and you're getting chased away. Rose Thorn has to be a little bit careful. Might have overstepped his welcome. The flash forward, the next 3-mem tag by Vanguard's Edge, but the wish to ensure that they can turn it around. Spawn's got some damage. The red gun's helping out, but he's stunned by the Winter's Bite and concussive blow. Picked up a kill for Tomio. With it now looking for the other members. Onat, no way out of this one. Already used the rocket jump. There it is, a little bit of distance. But, oh no, you want to attack the ward and gave over a kill to me.
I would be honest, that was very sloppy. That was very unclean from both sides, and it ends up being a huge win for Disguise at the end of it. They're going to be walking away with multiple kills and the dragon as well. But wow, that was all over the place from both sides. It's different people trying to go in at different times, and nobody really has ults for that fight and used in any meaningful way. And so Team Fish Taco, right, we said that Ona in particular likes playing on the edge of what is possible. This time Spawn playing a little bit too aggressively as well. Both of them end up getting caught out in that last fight, and it gives DSG an opportunity to really start playing for advantage off of Tomio again.
Yeah, and Tomio now 2-0-1 on this jungle. Nico, Rocket Belt in the inventory, is really going to be the main character for Disguise in this game. Everything else, well, you have scaling that you can rely on, especially once you get the full build for Young when he gets his Blade of the Ruin King, right?
Yeah.
Then Meech on the other side, Ginsu's Rage Blade, that's going to be huge spikes that Disguise can utilize, especially because Tomio is so far ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and Tomio is here as well. Second Braum, just like second breakfast, waiting to go for this potential fight.
That's going to be the Pop Blossom
gets two!
against Onat, especially, but the damage thrown back. Red, white, let's fight. The snipe in from Spawn. Even if Tomio did try to start off the fight, you just got to respect the damage that can come in from Team Fish Taco. While this turret's so low, Disguise, they have to run for the hill.
Yeah, honestly, really good play coming out from Spawn to make sure they could get that fight as well, and also going to be getting this first turret, splitting the gold there with NXI. It's okay to be giving money over to Soraka. They scale too.
Yes.
But Disguise, they try and make another play, and it's not Tomio that pays for his own sins. Instead, it is Zazel that ends up going down in that last fight. But I really like Team Fish Taco's position in this game. The fact that they have both Spawn and Ona picking up some of these early kills. Spawn getting the first turret down in the bottom side with all the plates that go along with it. They have a ton of damage. And Young on this Irelia, honestly, has botched a couple of fights in a row, and that is your primary way to get threat onto this backline. And if that threat's not there, Tristana and Feel is clear, I feel.
That's uncharacteristic, too, of Young, because this is one of the classic picks that Young really got his name on, right? It was this and the Akali that everyone would constantly praise Young back when he was starting to come up through the Sylas, I think, was a little bit after that. When I first think back to Young, when it was Young mid, it was those two champions. Then Sylas came out a little bit after that when he was like with Golden Guardians and stuff like that. And so seeing how he is on this game, he is still starting to scale up. He's got that big spike for Aurelia, the Blade of the Ruin King. He is almost 30 CS over Onat at this point too. But like you said, it's really going to be important with how Young plays the next fight, because the last two, they haven't been that great. Even if one Vanguard's Edge was pretty nice, hitting 3 people, nobody was there to follow up.
Yeah, and it's not the ultimate that actually does the damage, you know. It's just a way to start
the
reset.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And right now, DSG, they start up the Rift Herald, but as we're seeing, they're going to have to back away from that one. They don't actually have people moving around on the same page. DSG, we are seeing that despite the strength of a lot of their individual players.
Some nice flash though from NXI, dodging away from Tomio, and even getting tagged there, but it was the wrong one. Lunacia focused on 3, but they got the re-engage, and that's what you need from Young, with Lunacia having to flash away. They flash over, knock him into the wall, looking for the kill. Lunacia tagged, and it's a killing spree for Tomio.
And oh my gosh, once again, we are seeing is the front line here for Disguise, creating so much space for Meech to free fire throughout that fight. Meech not even having to flash at all. They're going to be getting a Rip Turret. They're going to be getting this mid lane turret. The Rose Thorn.
Where are they right now? Because that's a bit of explosive damage. Most of it body blocked by Zeyzal to make sure that they don't actually lose anybody. And then top lane, Young. Like I said, he's got that Blade of the Ruin King. This is when you get a lot of power as Aurelia. Get a top wall structure. That's going to be a huge swing after this play for Disguise.
In particular, we got to watch how Fake God and Meech are positioned during this fight, right? Because Meech is the bulk of the team's damage for so much of it, and he finds a pocket. He's dodging out on a lot of his abilities, and he's able to get his way onto Onat. And then after that, Fake God, I mean, there's not a lot of play on the rest of the fight because you're hitting one of the tanks, but because Fake God gets the first stun, gets this next stun as well, holding Lunacia in place. Lunacia never has a chance to go all out, never has a chance to take that fight over.
Right, never has a chance to get on top of Meech. As you said, you only got tagged a little bit at the very beginning of the fight, but then the Vanguard's hit created so much space for Meech to free fire that as Kog'Maw with the Ginsu's Rage Blade, if you're free firing in a fight, especially with champions that want to dive onto you, such as Sejuani and Gisante, you're not just winning, you're thriving.
Oh yeah, not just surviving, he's thriving. Just now we're starting to look at the next dragon spawning as well in a couple of seconds. Disguised have this gold lead to start playing with. Kog'Maw, you know, a lot of people look at it as a character that scales endlessly. You really are very excited to play on 2-3 items because that's when you do the most damage. After that, you actually start seeing people go a lot of tank and just living the entire time. But as we are going to be starting up this dragon as well, it is going to be so difficult for Team Fish Taco to try and contest this at all. And instead, it's going to be another dragon coming through. So we got the Hextech dragon with the cooldown reduction in attack speed, and then we have the Infernal dragon as well. This is really going to help out some of the damage shredding that Young and Tomio are going to be able to put out.
Especially looking at Tomio, looking at Young, having extra damage that they get from this Infernal Dragon. Just having the singular dragons themselves is going to be huge for DSG. Getting the soul will be all right, but it's really about getting those extra percentages, right, Josh? It's how much more damage they're going to do, especially when you look at how squishy some of the members are, such as NXI, and how important NXI is going to be for these fights. If he gets burst down before he can even start healing or put down the wish, well, there goes all your scaling to make sure that you can survive for so long.
Yeah. So we'll watch NXI's positioning, right? We were calling at the beginning. It's a harder character than a lot of people give it credit for, especially at this level, because of how aware everybody is that you got to attack the Soraka first. It's not everybody else. You got to hit the actual carry, and it is definitely Soraka. So Disguise, they have the tools for now in order to really target the front line, but it's going to be on Fake God and Young to try and really go for some of these flanks to interrupt what NXI is trying to do. But as the game stalls out for a little bit, with no Baron, with no Dragons to play for, or no damage to really even hit the Baron anyway, Disguised are starting to look at their second items across a lot of players. And we already pointed out how Meech was able to free fire it during that last fight, but now the question becomes, how does Team Fish Taco actually attack it? It's mostly on Lunacia, and so far, well, he did a good job in the laning phase, actually fighting Fake God to a standstill. Got to be able to do more than that. You got to go all out. You got to take down the AD carry.
Maybe right now, Tomio found NXI, and that's a big Soraka pop. They got the wish, but look how much damage they did to the carry, and just one simple auto attack picks up the kill for Zeyzal.
Good catch coming out from Tomio, right? Just showcasing like, hey, I could be anywhere I want on the map. Finds that kill. That should be a mid lane turret. Disguise, they are still very happy to continue going for this fight. They can start looking to go for split pushing and
they just
really pulling
out here too. Look at this.
Whee!
There's so much pressure that DSG now has over Taco because that wish is gone. The Soraka's out of there. That turret's gonna fall, and even with Roaster trying to defend Onat, now you're in a little bit of danger as the Sejuani. You brought back down Lunacia for this play, but you just don't have the damage unless you have both Spawn and Onat here.
Oh, that's an ult.
There's an ult. It's gonna still be Lunacia. That's what we have to look for. Looking for the all-out. Gonna be on to Zeyzal, not the target you want. He gets burst down before he can throw anything out. And look at Meech, untouched, unscathed, taking down Taco.
Yeah, Meech just completely free hitting. Now Zeyzal and Fake God trying to chase down Onat.
Onat tagged by the concussive blow, stunned up. One smash of the hammer down, and Fake God takes his first kill.
But still, Tomio and Meech totally taking control of this one. Every single time a fight is breaking out, Meech completely untouched in these fights. Tomio trying to find picks before it all started. You called out that NXI had died immediately before. He had no wish, no way to help out the rest of his team, and still they look for an engage anyway. But this is looking like a more classic DSG win, right? We're talking about how Team Fish Taco, they only really are finding success when they group up as 5 and just go for some of these big old fights. Here they're grouped up as 5, but Meech, they get onto him very briefly, but with so many bodies on top of each other, Lunacia ends up ulting the wrong person, ends up going down. And even though Onat gets a hit, Spawn is so far away, he's not able to contribute to the damage at all.
Exactly, and then they can just chase down this kill onto Onat. There goes your other carry here. And with how much that DSG have in these team fights, where we were saying, yeah, Team Fish Taco, they like to group up, they like to have these messy, chaotic fights, but usually a lot of their successes are because they get one out early into the game. DSG stopped that in its tracks. They're the ones with the lead, and now that we've gotten to the point where we are having nearly the front-to-back team fights for both sides, DSG, there's no way for Taco to really crack into the backline to get on top of Meech in the first place.
Yeah, thank God Geese Roast aren't out of there, but here's the actual fight.
But it's Tomio, it's all Tomio, that's all it really is. That NACL unstoppable, and they cannot do anything to make sure that she's out of the equation, because look at that, Meech toppling down his members left, right, and center of Team Fish Taco.
And again, it's Tomio and Meech just syncing up together. Tomio creates so much space that Meech can hit whoever they want. And I was really skeptical when I saw that Tomio was going to be bringing out the Nico, right? It's so, you think of Nico and so many tricks that the character does have. He's like, oh, you got too close? Okay, well, I'm just going to pop you anyway. Not really caring about the rest of it. Onat.
Onat looking for Young. Trade back. Does get the shutdown. But the Baron...
shutdown?
Oh, it doesn't matter. They get the kill for Onat, but the Turo Baron buff is still picked up by DSG regardless.
Yeah, DSG picked that one up, and Tomio just asking interesting questions. He didn't even have the and Onat believed him anyway. That's respect.
I think you had to, because he would have just chased that down. The auto attacks that you have every third one to really proc
you got rocket jump.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But we take a look at this one, and as you said, first off, they punt away Rosethorn. There goes your
NXI.
front line, and then Tomio's like, oh yeah, I'm Nico, let's go.
Hello. Yeah, NXI just getting caught out once again. That is so much of your team's effective tanking is just gone. And even though Spawn tries to get in a lot of damage, his front line crumbles so quickly, he doesn't actually have the opportunity to go for any of these fights. And Team Fish Taco crumble yet again as Tomio takes advantage of NXI's positioning. Now, with the Baron buff on 4 members, they're trying to find their drive. They're trying to find all of these different turrets on the side lanes. This is a small window, right? Team Fish Taco have preyed on teams like AoE when they are split pushing like this. They just go all out. They use all their ults to try and take somebody down. DSG, they aren't grouped up.
Zeyzal just shows up mid by himself. Scares off Lunacia, and it's like, yeah, I'm here. Baron, the Turo Baron buff for the minions. We take down another turret. And they've got top lane already set up too. DSG rotating around, and this is what you want to see from the core of the Cloud9 Challengers, the winning team from spring here with DSG. Their macro calls, once they get these leads, just going from lane to lane and making sure that this young, talented squad of Team Fish Taco cannot match against the experience that DSG brings.
Yeah, and Fake God just pushing into mid lane and threatening to collapse at all times. DSG just going to be picking up another turret for themselves. Zeyzal says heart is the strongest muscle, and then we are just going to be lining up the siege again.
Looking for the engage as well, and Zeyzal takes the brunt of it, but he's still alive, and they've got the re-engage. Onat's gone, double kill for Tomio, all out in the back line. Will pick up the kill on Young, but Taco, they're in shambles right now. They've lost 2 of their players, only getting the 1 out of Young, so that means mid lane, PSG can open up the pace of Team Fish Taco.
And both of these guys, Tomio and Meech, continuing to remain deathless, nearly 100% KP for both of them as they move around the map. Zeyzal also just standing tall in front of the whole fight, but we get to see Team Fish Taco, they try and make these big fights happen, but they catch on to the wrong members. They caught Zeyzal, they didn't catch on to Meech. Yes, they got Young, but he hasn't even picked up a kill just quiet. It feels as though Disguise have been firing on all cylinders for this past back half of the game.
Yeah, I mean, really Young at this point, he's there more as a distraction so that Meech and Tomio can go rampant in the backline, right?
Yep.
They make sure that Meech is free firing the whole time. He's got 3 items already completed on Kog'Maw with a stopwatch in his inventory. This is the Meech that we've been wanting to see all split long. Where you were talking about how Saligo said Young and Meech, it seemed like they weren't really fitting in with DSG. Well, I feel like Meech really has been growing in and learning how to play with Zeyzal. And that's something that is really great to see out of this younger player in Meech. This guy who's always been really highly touted for his reactions on marksman, how he could flash away from a lot of really crucial lockdowns that normally would catch out any other player.
He hasn't really needed to this game either, right? Like,
yeah,
his
he's been
reaction times
untouched.
have been so good just because he's not putting himself in danger and is able to be positioned really aggressively in a lot of these fights. And there you go, just taking third of Lunasia's HP and just just the auto attack, you know, spit on the back. But there's just nowhere for Team Fish Taco to even go.
And that's the great thing about seeing this from Meech, is he's really learned how to play with Zeyzal. He has so much confidence in this support that he's going to defend him, and you should. This is Zeyzal we're talking about. Probably one of the best supports we've seen in NA throughout the history, how great he was back during his time with Cloud9, and even how he was as a coach where he stepped in with Cloud9, then came in with the Cloud9 Challengers team so he can start playing professionally again. And he's looked good every single step of the way so that they can look for plays like this and force out Taco with barely a fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's another structure. We have Young in the top half of the map, also pushing into Onat.
And he's just looking for the solo bolo. Onat will get out of that one, but with all these minions here, they should be able to get a threshold on that turret, but he does want to give a little bit of respect to Onat.
Yeah, you do have to be a little bit careful, right? Once your buttons are down as the Irelia, you don't have nearly as much pressure on the map. But look at that. Zeyzal is standing right on top of Meech, knowing like, yeah, I'm going to body block. I'm going to make it so hard to hit skill shots. And with Rosethorn's ultimate down, there's not much of an engage possible.
Blossom doesn't get an XI, but does get Rosethorn the wish to help him out. But they just make sure they're keeping him at bay. That's the whole thing for DSG at this point, is making sure that every lane is getting simultaneously attacked, and Team Fish Taco cannot react to every single one of them.
And as we talked about, right, with no ultimate from Rosethorn, you gotta wait for that to be up again. That's the way that Team Fish Taco tries to find some of these catches, tries to find some way back into the game. But look how far up Spawn is trying to play in order to create some pressure. But it just doesn't matter. That's another inhibitor turret going down, and Team Fish Taco just being pulled around the map yet again. I think this is kind of what a lot of people were expecting based on what we were seeing at the beginning of the season, right? With the way that Disguise were just very controlled, not really giving a whole lot of opportunities back in for any of these teams in the bottom half of the standings to even stand up. That said, I would not be surprised if Team Fish Taco gave us a better game in Game 2 just because of how wildly variable their games have been so far this split.
It also feels like, as you called out the track, Josh, that DSG pretty much downloaded the game plan from Team Fish Taco. They read them like a book in every single capacity. Saying, oh, they want to go for this early on because we've already taken off the Olaf Jax Kindred. All right, let's make sure they get the Tristana Cassante. Sure, but we've got the Nico already. Then we'll go for that Aurelia mid lane with Coffee to make sure that the Cassante has a hard time top lane.
Yeah. I mean, they just had everything, right? They were so fast in their draft. It felt like everything was prepared. The only, I mean, this is light criticism, but, you know, like, Fate God was not as dominant in the lane as we were kind of expecting given this counter matchup and his tenure that he had so far as a player. But as you said, like, he didn't need to be, right? It was totally fine. It was a spot where the rest of the map was winning so hard that, you know, I mean, Fate God is 1-0-3, but just because the rest of his team is winning the fights before he's even needed.
Exactly, as you called out, Tomio with nearly 100% kill participation on this jungle Nico. 7-0-6 on it, all stemming from that first flash over the wall to get the gank in bot lane. That has set the Nico on a snowball trajectory that has become an avalanche that Team Fish Taco can't stop.
Now Disguise starting up the Baron once again. The inhibitor has respawned, but here comes the response.
That's going to be the TP in. Young unspotted, though. They have no idea he's on the flank. Try to go for the engage onto Lunacia on the other side as Fake God pushing him away, but that's Tomio's damage blowing up Onat as NXI going to be the next target, and you got nowhere to go. Even if you have the Wish of the Redemption, they've got enough damage to chase down to double kills for Tomio. All the while, Lunacia has been fighting against Young on the other side, but they want the kills on the carries. They don't give a damn about the tanks from the top lane. They want to get rid of Spawn, the person who can wave clear. You're doing just that, but where you're going to go, you can't go back to the base because Zazel's making sure that you're corralled away, chasing you down, even if Spawn does get a lot of damage back on Zazel, dodging away from the duet, but dies to Young.
Really impressive kiting from Spawn, but even more impressive ultimate coming out from Tomio, just blowing up NXI before this fight even starts. NXI Onat instantly gone, but it doesn't look like it's enough for DSG to feel comfortable trying to end the game. And look at where Rosethorn is. Don't know if they actually have a good idea of his position. Doesn't have the ultimate, but he might be able to try and affect a steal.
That would be very unlikely.
All right, he's not even trying.
There's no TP from Onat. Lunacia might have his TP, but Rosethorn just going to call off the play. He's already recalled. That's going to be the Baron buff picked up by Disguise.
They get everything they could possibly want, right? They get all the kills. They get all of the Baron. As they get another Turo Baron buff for themselves, this game has continued to look good for Disguise across the board. Tomio on this Nico, I'm sorry for doubting you, man.
Me too.
Yeah.
I was doubting for sure. And then that one play, like I said, it's all stemming from that flash over the wall to pick up the 2 kills bot lane that has enabled them to get their second Turo Baron buff of the game.
Now, this should surely be the end of the game, right? 2 inhibitors are already down. Team Fish Taco has only 1 inhibitor turret to defend, and that'll be Super Minions pushing out across the entire map. And we're already seeing the pings, and the Super Minions are pushing very heavily up in the top side of the map. Tomio meets them in the middle of the map as well. And this should be the death push coming out for the rest of Disguised. Where are you going, Tomio?
I'm kind of surprised by that too. I was about to say, there's a minute left until they could possibly get the Infernal Soul, but at the rate things are going, this game might end before then, as they already got the 2 waves crashing both mid and top simultaneously, while bot about to crash into this last remaining inhibitor turret. They punt away the front line. Rosethorn's gone. Lunacia, he's made of paper because he gets cut through by Meat, and this Kog'Maw can chase down Tomio. Double knock up again. There goes NXI as they're cleaning up everyone. Only Onat, the straggler for the team. Rocket jumps back to the base. This guy is going to take game 1 nearly cleanly over Team Fish Taco.
Great stuff from Disguise. I love at the very end. Tomio comes in, grabs the kills like, me too. I would have helped with the fight. I would have been a family photo. And honestly, that was just a fantastic play coming out from Tomio. They consistently were preying on the fact that NXI playing too far forward, that Onat with a couple of kills early on, not able to take any aggressive action for basically the rest of the game. It was a fantastic showing from Disguise from top to bottom. Like, they were a couple small spots. There was one fight that was really weird near the dragon, but after that, Disguise didn't stop at all.
No, they didn't stop one bit. They had all the leads they needed to. And before we toss to a break, I do want to make sure I tell everyone about Turo. The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace, where you can book any car you want for just about any occasion. Forget about boring car rentals. Go over to Turo.com and get yourself an awesome car. And guys, we'll see you after the break, back for our halftime show with Mazel.